to a video of GojiCenter that is called Why is Suko Taller Than Kong from Skull Island? And the credits are for GojiCenter, but let's react to it. I wanna be the first one to react in this video just come out.
Godzilla Kong, the new empire, introduced us for the first time to the rest of the great apes in live action.
Oh, and obviously there is gonna be spoilers. So if you don't watch the film, why are you here? Anyway, please like and subscribe if you wanna see more videos like that. But let's get into it.
But these weren't just any simians, these were Hollow Earth great apes. And because they resided in this environment and not on Skull Island, we are now dealing with different rule sets regarding the growth of these monsters. The task for today is to explain why the adolescent Kong from the film Kong Skull Island is smaller in stature than Suko, an infant. Yes, if this is your first time hearing this fact, this may sound a little bizarre. How is an infant taller in stature than a teenager? Well, in this...
I don't think so. When I watched the film, I don't think that Suko was more taller than Kong in Skull Island.
In this episode, we will discuss exactly why Suko managed to grow taller than Kong when he was a teenager, and go as far as explaining how Kong managed to grow taller than most of the great apes in Hollow Earth.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Pay close attention because you don't want to miss any details. Subscribe and get ready to watch Suko's and Kong's growth rate explained. Okay, to begin explaining this weird phenomenon, we must first match up who we are talking about. Suko in Godzilla Kong the New Empire measured approximately 149 feet in height. For
45.4 meters tall. That's pretty big. Well, yes, it's enough big in the perspective of the humans, but it's still pretty big.
For reference, that is just 2 feet shorter than the Statue of Liberty.
No, the Statue of Liberty. Wow, I can't believe. So like the Statue of Liberty.
Very tall nonetheless. Pay attention to how this one has infant proportions. What is this? Infants are often characterized as having an enlarged head, large eyeballs, and a small body in comparison to its skull. This is what makes a baby look like a baby. As your body grows to adolescence, your skull tends to grow at a slower rate than the rest of your body. This is why adults, in most cases, have a smaller head in comparison to their bodies, giving them the said adult body proportions that make them look like full-grown individuals. Suko, as you can see, can be categorized as an infant due to these characteristics. Now comes the adolescent Kong from 1973. This one was considered a teenager. You'll immediately note that its body proportions resemble that of an adult more than an infant. Kong, however, only measures 104 feet in height here. A whole...
Wow. Wow, Suko real? Well, I heard someone says that because it came from the Hollow Earth, and the Hollow Earth they give they give enough well in a natural there is for the others, so they think that Hollow Earth they grow like this so fast because they are in Hollow Earth, but I don't think so.
45 feet shorter than this infant. This is where most people scratch their heads and wonder, how is this even possible? Well, the answer lies in where these two grew up. Suko here grew up in a place known as Hollow Earth. Down in the bowels of the planet lies an incomprehensibly vast environment with resources to adequately sustain large life forms. Kong, on the other hand, grew up in Skull Island, an isolated island somewhere in the Pacific that is often described as Hollow Earth come to the surface, a mini version of the flora-fauna that is found in Hollow Earth. Here's one of the reasons why Suko was already taller than Kong, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's a lot more reasoning behind this. Enjoying this episode? Here's a quick reminder to subscribe and to also click the link below to check out our official GojiCenter merch, as well as graphic tees showcasing the most powerful predators of all time.
So yes, you guys gotta subscribe to GojiCenter for obviously more reaction. If you guys like, you can subscribe to me. But let's get into it.
For better context, we'll have to go back to the graphic novel Skull Island, Birth of Kong. We are introduced to a tribe of these great apes that lived here on Skull Island. You'll note that these apes don't really measure up to the size of adult Kong, who measures 337 feet in height. These apes were a little less than 2/3 of Kong's adult form. But why? Let us explain. Here on Skull Island, growth rates are different from that of Hollow Earth apes due to environmental and biological constraints. Hollow Earth is practically infinitely more vast than this island, limiting the growth cap of these creatures. Additionally, these great apes seem to have suffered from a phenomenon known as indeterminate growth, meaning that factors such as space, food quality, resources, and most importantly stress were a major reason why these guys never reached the height of the larger Hollow Earth apes, being capped in height at around 200 feet or so. Stress was likely the larger factor here. It is a well-known fact that these apes shared this island with the skull crawlers, vicious, relentless predators that when not sleeping were always hunting. The rivalry between these two species reached a point where they began killing each other in large numbers. This was perhaps the biggest stressor that limited the growth of these apes. Eventually, this conflict was rendered down to a last stand where many apes, including Kong's parents, were killed. The finishing blow inflicted by Ramarak, the assassin that killed Kong's parents right before his very eyes. Not only that, but this happened immediately after he was born. If that's not stressful enough, then imagine being a 40-foot infant ape on an island full of predators with absolutely no one to take care of you. If anything, the stress would have only been higher for infant Kong than the stress inflicted on a whole group of apes with each other to rely on under the threat of skull crawlers. Further evidence of this increased stress on Kong, consider that apes, including us humans, usually surpass half of the height of the parents by adolescence in most cases. This Kong in 1973 only gets past this threshold by a bare minimum. Something is a little bit off here. Kong between infancy and adolescence has grown less than he should. Why? Stress. Ramarak was still around, and the presence of this one plus the remaining predators would have made Kong go through the said indeterminate growth, limiting his potential greatly. Between infancy and early stages of adolescence, this smaller Kong would develop the previously mentioned adult proportions, but not adolescent height. It was after he managed to kill Ramarak that he finally was able to unlock full growth potential. Not only did he kill the most dangerous predators around, but he now had a whole ecosystem all to himself, establishing himself as the apex predator on the island, and close to nothing was able to challenge his spot on the food chain. This is why it was mentioned in GVK that he grew very fast in very little time, more than 233 feet in only 51 years. But this did not just stop here. Ironically, Kong ended up growing taller than many of the great apes in Hollow Earth thanks to having the island all to himself. Let's go back to Suko. Hollow Earth apes would be around the same size as a full-grown Kong, meaning that proportionally speaking, their infants would by default be around this height, which so happens to be around the size of teenager Kong, whose parents suffered through some sort of dwarfism due to ecological circumstances discussed already. This is why infant Kong was so small also, because his parents were small compared to Hollow Earth apes. Suko admittedly was not a newborn infant. We'd like to think that Suko was the equivalent of an 8 to 11-year-old. Not quite the adolescent, but also not a newborn infant. One who lived long enough to endure and remember the abuse inflicted on him by the Scar King, and one able to fight back if attacked. An adolescent Suko would then adopt the characteristics of a sub-adult great ape. A lengthened body, limbs, and smaller head compared to his body, similar to his parents, whoever they were, but most likely Scar King himself being the father. That's right. In a scene during the film, we can very quickly witness an interesting detail in Scar King's throne room. Upon getting up and roaring, a few female apes began to shelter their offspring from the Scar King. What color were they? Brownish red, identical to Suko. Which brings up the next question. If Scar King actually was the one who fathered Suko, how tall could this guy actually get? And could he outgrow Kong? Well, given that all things in the Monsterverse could literally be a dumb writer's pen stroke away from becoming reality, we can't predict whether or not Suko will be taller or not. However, based on the parents of Suko alone, we can predict that he might be a little taller than or around the same size as Scar King, who was at around 318 feet in height. Scar King belonged to a species of great ape that was more lanky and agile instead of muscular like his adoptive father Kong. Suko's mother was probably one that resembled Kong a little more, with characteristics similar to a larger gray or brown gorilla. So, based on his parents alone, Suko should end up looking like this. But if we account for the effects of Hollow Earth, much more vast prey variety, and being looked after properly by a father figure, Suko might end up larger and more powerful than we think.
Really? Wow. Wow, man, I can't believe that. It will be insane, Suko's adult.
There is still more to learn about the race of these great apes and their different kinds. Subscribe to not miss our episode explaining the many different types of ape titans seen so far in the Monsterverse. More episodes covering Godzilla Kong, the New Empire, and more kaiju fights.
Oh, yes. Guys, yes. Okay, this is the end of the video, and I hope you guys like this reaction, and subscribe to me if you want to, but I want to say, if you guys subscribe to me, I will make more reaction video if you guys want. Just subscribe, and when we reach 5 subscribers, we're gonna react to another video of GojiCenter or another animation of other channels. But anyway, this is the end of the video, and bye, and I hope you guys liked this reaction, and bye.